Hey everybody, good morning. Woo. I've been doing my own healing, and it's not even like anything horrifically bad. I just noticed that my body is putting forth energy by causing me to sleep a little bit more so I can repair. And it's not what I ate, it's not what I've been reading, it's not the environment. You know, all my healing, my symptoms, which is basically a little bit more fatigue, is based upon what's going on internally. And I'm on my third year of doing the Jilly Juice protocol. Started in October of 2016, and it'll be 3 years come this October. And so some of you who are just starting this protocol are going to see your first wave of healing. And if you can get through the first trimester, you're well on your way. So, and it's going to be a journey. I mean, some of you will get back and get back on. Some of you will just stay continuous and be true. Others of you have a lot going on. So yeah, being in the third year doing this, and I'm still experiencing some symptoms that are not like anything that I've dealt with prior to the protocol, but I can see definitely a shift in, well, I can see a shift in my energy. And then I can also, I notice that I've seen the healing of past, present, and future triggers. And I see the mental clarity. And then I'm also, I don't know if you've seen those memes on Facebook where this guy has these sunglasses. And so the message is these sunglasses that he's taking off. And when he takes the sunglasses off, he sees all these different messages, and it says like obey, consume, all these different things, right? But when you put the sunglasses on, it's probably all the beautiful commercials of encouraging people to spend money on stuff. And then I'm looking deeper at that. And then I'm looking deeper at energy. And then people are trying to, and what started me on this whole energy thing and really seeing energy for what it is that I do people that are into energy healing on my Facebook. Okay, and there's nothing wrong with energy healing. People do it. It's a way. It's no different than the medical system. It's a way to manipulate your body to help you through difficult times. What are those difficult times? It's pain because your body is trying to heal from a trauma. That's all what healing is. Okay, so when you're in pain, it's from it's you trying to heal from a trauma. And so people use energy healing. They use pills, power supplements, and detoxes. They use drugs, which is all the same thing, to manage their pain. Okay, and then what we've seen in our society that there's a major imbalance, and they're using way more of these types of anesthetizing drugs than they're able to then create and regenerate life. And that's why you see people dying basically really, really soon. Okay. So then then I have people say, okay, so energy is different than chemical. And I'm like, no, it's not. Energy is not different than chemical. Energy is based upon chemistry, which is chemical. Okay? Energy, you just can't create it. It cannot be created, it cannot be destroyed. It can only be transferred. And then we take everything back to physics. So we have biochemistry and chemistry, biodiversity and everything on Earth. And then we have space. So space and Earth are really the same. Humans, you have your internal universe, and you have the atom and the cells, and all the different, all the different elements that make up your body, and different bacterias. And then you have the universe, the cosmos, the stars, the galaxies, all of that. And all of the stuff in space produces energy, different types of energy made up of different gases and elements, everything that you see on the periodic tables. Okay, and there's words to explain those things in space. Okay, so when you have words in space, like neutrons, stars, I don't know, electrons and all positrons and then atoms and all this stuff, and the different galaxies and the different, like Andromeda, Milky Way, the different planets and the stars, Uranus, so it's all like, so the context. So when someone says something about a neutron star, okay, you understand star, that means space, star, space. But you call some, like now we see people call themselves star seeds, because they know that the human is made from the stars, from the elements, all of that. So they're trying to connect the two together. However, there's a take on that where people are okay with dying. They're okay with dying sooner because they hate life on Earth and they want to go back to the stars, go back to home, wherever home is. So they call themselves star seeds. Okay, fine. I don't necessarily buy that, but because I have a different take on life. Life isn't meant to die and spread your seeds everywhere, okay? So then you have the words in biochemistry, and you can look up all the biochemistry, the different words about hormones, the 11 different systems, the digestive system, the cell structures, all the different things that that fits in the context of health and wellness, microbiome, gut health. So you have all these different words that are in a different context trying to explain to you what it's referencing, so you're not thinking that you're talking about space when you're really talking about your body, but they're actually the same thing. It's just different words, okay? Just different words. Okay, so we've kind of gone through that. We know that words create worlds, and it creates markets, and it creates people to go and act and do whatever, okay? And then I'm looking at all the thing about energy. And then I'm looking at, okay, so energy. And then I'm looking at the thing with the politics, which is another thing about words and politics. So energy, words, politics, anti-vax, pro-vax. Okay, we already went over that. Then we have the vegan and vegetarians and the hunters. So now you're entering into a world of the health and wellness, where the politics around food, which basically food is energy. But how we have created such division is because we have a political platform regarding the food supply. Whether it's meat, milk, fruits and vegetables. And then we look at humans that are dying. Dying humans consume so much before they die. They also are in their death throes. But humans consume a lot before they die. And before they die, they also produce offspring. So that's more mouths to feed, more energy being created to go and consume. Okay? So that's on a dying world, is where it's like a bunch of locusts. And I don't want to say humans are like locusts, but the way in which we view life and our own bodies and ourselves, it's creating a blight on Earth. It's creating a consumptive type of lifestyle to where you're consuming more than you're actually producing. And this is that I look at the currency, whether it could be Bitcoin, whether it's the fiat dollar or the euro. I don't care what you call currency, whether it's worth more or less, that's just all man-made stuff. But currency is energy. What you produce and how much somebody will buy what you produce, it's still energy, because you created something, you've created energy, okay, around it to be able to produce something. But right now in our society, whether or not you're vegan and vegetarian, whether it's big industry, big agri producing mass farms, forget the Monsanto bit, but if big agri is producing all this food, so we can go to the grocery store and buy food, they're producing food, so they've invested all this energy in their workers, in their equipment, in the land, the taxes, all of the OSHA standards, the EPA, FDA, all that stuff. And then they go and sell it to everybody, and in which turn we then take our money, our energy, and then we give them in return for the food. We consume it, but what have we done to give back to where we leave something more than what we've taken? So Big Agri is no different than some organic garden that is producing food for their family, displacing animals. So then back to Big Agri, they're displacing animals too. Displacing animals and ecosystems, upsetting the homeostasis, but then an organic garden is doing the same thing too. The human is upsetting the ecosystem of that environment so they can plant a garden. So they're hurting worms, displacing rabbits, trying to get rid of the pests like the deer and the rabbits and all the different animals in that environment who is trying to eat also. And then the human who is also tilling their garden, they have a house because they have to live somewhere. So what do? They have to go and take wood and go and displace woodpeckers and caterpillars. And then they go and build a house. And that's like a noise pollution, so it's scaring all the animals. Then you have to create a plumbing system. So you're finding pipe, so that way you can do a plumbing system to then carry all of your waste material away from the house into a septic, into a pit. But you still got to go by the pipe because there's no way to really, unless of course you figure out an aqueduct system like they did back in the Roman days. But you still have to go and displace animals and go and modify your environment to then fit an aqueduct system. And then, and so now you have your waste material sitting there. Now you have to do something with that waste material because now it's all toxic waste, all this crap in your body that is all these minerals that are now, it's like pollution. What do you do with that? You can't just disappear. It doesn't just like magically, so you have to put it somewhere, which means animals in that area are going to be affected by all this condensed toxic waste, which is your poop and your pee. So now you got to go treat that in some way. And you got to make sure it doesn't reach your family, which is also consuming and eating and pooping. And then, and then you go and pick your fruits and your vegetables and you eat it and you poop it. And so you're actually displacing and consuming way more than you're actually giving back to that environment. Now you could say I'm planting flowers. Could you plant a garden where it's only for the animals? I mean, I guess there's that thing that, yes, where you can plant a garden where you're allowing the animals to come in and eat from another garden that you've planted for them. Because animals are going to compete with you for food. But I don't know if people are actually doing that. I mean, I don't think I've ever seen anything on a TV show or any of these organic gardeners that talk about, well, yeah, not only do I plant, because all these organic gardeners are all talking about, oh, I'm planting food for all the masses and that I'm going to charge them for it because they're not going to give it away for free. And if they do give it away for free, they're expecting something in return. We don't see people just planting gardens for the public. Now, some that may do that. But how much are you really going to do that without expecting something in return? I don't see many people, I mean, and if there are people doing that, that's great. But there's only so much that you can do because you got to feed yourself as well. I mean, can you really feed everybody for free? You would have to really have, I mean, yeah, you can give away stuff here and there. But the amount that you actually consume and displace is still going to be way more than what you actually give. And then here's the thing, even when you give away food, when you give food away and give your energy away, it's still not going to contribute to the indefinite. And this is where I'm going to now make a leap to the indefinite life. What's the point when you give something away? What are you contributing to? Now, this is the key thing of why I'm talking about this, is because the whole point of producing more than you're consuming is that you're trying to produce and keep life going indefinitely, not contribute to the consumptive lifestyle of another entity. So this is why it's very important to teach your children how to produce more than they're consuming, or they'll be a very consumer oriented type of person that just eats and feeds and eats and feeds and does nothing else to contribute back to the environment. And then, you know, that's just another entity that just used up Earth and never gave anything back. And so, and I believe me, I've been there too. I mean, credit-based system, I've been part of, I have a mortgage. I mean, we all are part of the credit-based system where we are taking on energy that we haven't earned, and then we're giving back more to a company that's never going to give back to us. And then they're going to go and keep consuming and creating more consumer type lifestyles. And so what I'm looking at in the future is that we produce more than we consume. And when you produce more than you're consuming, you're going to create offspring or not. See, here's the thing. I was talking to some major mainstreamers that have been on my Facebook for years. I met them on CNN links. We had a mutual friend that was on intervention, and then he passed away actually a couple years ago. But he was always talking about all the left-wing stuff. Okay, I was always debating with them. But some of, you know, her friends were like, yeah, I mean, I said something about, oh yeah, David Attenborough saying that humans are a blight on Earth. Humans are a blight on Earth. And I'm like, no, it's the imbalanced humans that keep taking but never giving back to the community is what's a blight on Earth. If we, and then I was copy and pasting some of the posts that I did about energy and giving back and consuming and credit based and all this stuff, and then he was saying, well, humans, you know, we're overpopulating and we're doing this, and we're ruining environments and ruining, you know, ecosystems and all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, well, imbalanced humans are humans that take more than they are producing, yes. And then I'm saying, you know, when somebody is 100% well, and this is my theory still, it's still going to stand. When someone is 100% well, they're not going to be consuming as much. They're not going to want so much. And they are not going to be creating offspring. They're not going to be reproducing. Because reproduction comes from the body trying to mitigate against extinction. Okay? And so, and then I said, you know, something about supernovas and black holes, which actually a star doesn't have to be a supernova. Hey, Caroline, a star could actually turn into a black hole and just consume until there's like nothing left. Or a star could be a supernova and have a major theatrical display before they die. And so then I made these assertions that activists are like supernovas because that's their last hurrah before they just pass away. And some of you are watching some of these supernovas go on. Some of these chemtrail activists are like supernovas. They're making their last word heard for everybody to see before they pass away because they're already experiencing cancer, disease, and chronic illness and going for operations. Okay? So, and then you have people who don't really make any kind of bones with anything. They really don't care. They have really no qualms about society. They don't take any kind of political stance, which I understand. They just kind of stay within their own little circle. And those are like, in a way, like black holes, because then you're consuming. And that's it. There's no supernova. You're not really taking a stand before you pass away, which, okay, but I think that's how I see people in our society. They're either in the death trajectory, is that they're either supernovas or major activists that will fizzle out at the end of their line, or they'll have a major explosion and then they're done. Or you have these black holes where they just kind of die silently. A few people know who they are, and that's it. And then it's but when you're dying silently, it's a black hole. Well, they're not dying silently, but in their life, they're not really doing anything more to produce more than they're consuming. So they're like a black hole. They keep consuming. Okay, and then they die. So that's how I see our culture that deals with the death culture, that is okay with dying, don't want to really change society too much for themselves or their children. So they're either, you know, a black hole or a supernova, Because really a supernova, really, it's just, you're just reflecting the chaos that's in your body. And you just have a lot more electrons and things that are all chaotic. And then you die a chaotic death, which is, oh my God, the world's going to end. And then bam, you're dead. Yeah, the world's going to end because you just basically, for you, the world's going to end for you, but not for me. So I was talking about that, and I'm like, well, yeah, so I guess, you know, and I was talking to this guy on that thread, and I was saying, yeah, you know, when someone's 100% well, they're not reproducing. They're not all crazy, you know, having histrionics of how the world's going to end and that society is killing them. So they're not consuming and taking energy, because that's what fear-mongering is energy stealing. But even a person is not fear-mongering, who's just staying whatever, not saying anything, doing anything, really anything, they're still consuming. They're still consuming and not really giving back, producing more than they're consuming. And so it's like an equal exchange, but then they're taking more than they're really, because it's kind of that way, because when you're dying, you really are taking a lot more, because you're also creating people around you who are also major consumers, energy stealers, so to speak. Because then we have all this stuff in politics in our society that are creating all these people who are very scared of stuff. Because there's no return on the investment of fear. The only return on that investment is for you then to then go and steal somebody else's energy and create all this activity. And then what that activity, that energy that is being created is now feeding somebody else's consumptive type lifestyle. And it's a chain reaction, it's an infection. Really, that's what it is. It's like a cancer, it's a virus. But it's a virus that's on a very imbalanced body, so there's no real life really going to be coming out of it. It's really it's a supernova death process. That's what fear-mongering is. Nobody really benefits from fear-mongering. Nobody really benefits from a supernova. It's exciting to watch. It's beautiful sometimes. But it's not really contributing to the indefinite life. It's just infecting everybody around you. So then I'm thinking about the medical holistic system steals energy and never gives it back. Yeah, a holistic industry doesn't, you know, all they're doing is making you fear all these things, which of course, because you don't want to die tomorrow because of all these viruses. So you're taking all these pills, power supplements, and detoxes and operations. And yes, you're paying for it. But then you're also buying stuff to manage the outcome of the pills, power supplements, and detoxes and procedures. So, and then you're always continuously forking out your energy sources to maintain what the medical holistic system has done. The cannabis people, they are displacing thousands and thousands and thousands of acres of ecosystems. You realize people in the cannabis world are actually doing more harm to the environment? And it's so interesting because it's so like ironic because, oh, cannabis is so natural. I'm telling you, you think big agri is horrible? All of you that hate Monsanto and all of those big agriculture type of industries, the cannabis industry is right there, right next to them. So you're not only displacing ecosystems, but now you're anesthetizing somebody's body, basically suppressing their immune system. So you're contributing to not only the death of a human, people who support cannabis, but you're also supporting the death of ecosystems, because you have to have fields and fields of land to be able to grow your thousands and thousands of acres of cannabis. So this is why I say that the environmentalists are so hypocritical, because not only do they consume and give really nothing back more than what they consume, but then they're also supporting the natural remedies out there that are also displacing animals and displacing ecosystems and harming ecosystems and harming bodies that are out there. Okay? It's not just like, oh yeah, you know, it's not like always a direct transaction. Sometimes you got to look behind what you're supporting. So if you're an environmentalist and you love cannabis, there's a major disconnect, because how does that cannabis get grown? You're like, oh, I grow my own cannabis. You're still displacing things in your environment so you can support your habit. You still are consuming things around you. You're still messing up the ecosystem of where you are. What would happen if we didn't have to use drugs, if we didn't have to use so much food? What would happen if, even if we did use all the food, okay, how are we able to give back? So this is what's going on with the UN Agenda 21, is that they are cordoning off different parts of the areas in our society to allow biodiversity to come back, because imbalanced humans has caused a blight in those communities. Yes, they are herding humans into human habitation zones. And then, you know what, they're going to let nature run its course. Now, I know in people's death rows, they're going to be reproducing children. But eventually, with the way our society is, where they don't understand that they have to apply a different formula to their body to get a different result, they're going to be reproducing children with so many issues that they're not going to have a very long lifespan. And eventually, there'll be the end of that line for that family. That family is not going to be reproducing anymore. Okay? Which means that you won't have you as one less person consuming and making a blight. So I actually, it's so funny, I was so like against the whole UN Agenda 21 and the whole green fascism that Alex Jones and the whole thing with the Rosa Koire, because there's a reasoning behind it. Because the bigger picture, the people who see the bigger picture, that are like bird's eye view, because all of us in our perspective communities are only seeing one piece of the pie that goes on, and then we think that this is like horrible. No, there are people that actually have a bird's eye view of what goes on and see how the bigger picture really actually happens. And they see that if we don't figure this out sometime soon, we're going to have humans just be like locusts. They're going to decimate a whole environment, and it's going to take years for some environments to come back. Yeah, we know that we have oil spills. We know that we have areas that are so poor and people are not keeping up on their septic tanks, and they're consuming, and they're very, very sick, and so they don't care about their environment, and they are destroying that little ecosystem of where they are because they don't care. Okay, well, we can't legislate morals. We can't force a person to care about their own bodies, much less the environment, and much less the bigger picture. So our government and the collective as a whole just kind of deals with what is, and we kind of make things a bit comfortable for the lifestyle that you've chosen, because we're not going to go in and genocide anyone that doesn't fit within what we think is right. We give people the freedom. I mean, the government and each other gives each other enough freedom to allow each other to live as we choose. So as long as you're not purposely in our face destroying something, like killing something. But you have to realize that the things that you support does contribute to the overall bigger picture of consumptive, energy stealing type of thing. But I mean, but will we be in a society where we will still have advanced technology? Will we still have Facebook? We'll still have, and now we're looking at brick and mortar stores being gone, and now we have things like Amazon that are making billions and billions of dollars. So now these big brick and mortar stores like Sears and JCPenney and Kmart, like in my town, they're like ghost towns. And nature is coming back and reclaiming what those buildings, you know, took up. Animals are coming back to areas in our society because we took away the brick and mortar stores. Now you have online. Now you have, maybe you have factories that produce all the goods that you want. Now we have other countries like China or Vietnam that will produce the goods that we want. And then you'll have warehouses, of which you see about Amazon and all the different labor relations with Amazon. And then Amazon goes and delivers it to your house. And maybe this is where we need to go. Because we have streamlined our wants and needs, and maybe there's a way to streamline them even more, to where we can allow nature to come back and animals to come back, where humans and animals can live symbiotically. Now, of course, in inner cities, it's hard to have all this nature. But I mean, I live in Canton, Ohio, and it's still a city, but I still see, opossums and groundhogs and bunnies a dozen. Definitely all the different types of birds. Deer, probably more in, I don't know. I mean, there's, where I'm living, deer really can't roam too much unless the deer is lost or out drunk or something and ended up over here in the northeast side. But there is deer in other areas of Canton because they have a lot of brush and places where they can hide. So, but yeah, I mean, you go to like Cincinnati, you go to Toledo and all those really, concrete jungles. It's hard for life, hard for wild animals. Then you have the raccoons and the dogs and the cats that are living symbiotically with humans. So this, so that's what I'm looking at. J-Juice is a change in our perspective on producing more than we are consuming. And I've noticed it myself. I don't see, no matter what, I have to clothe myself. I have to eat a certain amount of food. I have a husband that has so many wants. Okay, he is actually the epitome of a consumptive society. I'm have an example of what a consumer, a major aggressive consumer is like. Okay, I mean, our 2 cars are financed. Okay, I don't need a car, but he has one that is for his CB radio, his fun stuff, and he has one that I drive back and forth to work. But I don't have too many wants. I don't have too much need for entertainment. I mean, I have my Netflix and I have the TV. And if it was up to me, I would just have Netflix. But I'm not blaming my husband. He just wants what he wants. And all of you want what you want. You want your cars, you want your toys, you want all of your fun things to keep you amused until you pass away. Okay. But what would happen if you knew you were going to live years and years and years and years down the road? Well, you're not going to be so like chomping at the bit to get that boat, to get those engines, to get the latest purse, to get this, to get that. What is it? The FOMO, the fear of missing out. To get all these, these travels in before you die. Because people who are on a death trajectory are chomping at the bit to get as much experience as possible out of life before they pass away. So they leave a legacy for their children. That's kind of our society, is that we're on this death trajectory and we have to consume until we pass away. And then that's how we show we lived a full life. Well, let's change that model. Because I have no desire to go and live this full life that's out there. I think a couple of years ago, I was like, I got to go to the fair. I want to go and see all these towns in Ohio that I've never seen before because I'm in Ohio. And that's what I did when I was a kid. We would always go road tripping to the different fairs, to the different things that museums and libraries, which, okay, fine. Those are good. I mean, when kids are being shoved into all these different extracurricular activities, football and piano and ballet, I mean, the parent is like totally on this. Time is of the essence. We got to get our kids to do all this stuff before they reach all these different milestones, because they got to go and make sure they compete with the kid next to them that's doing just as much, if not more. And that's the consumptive lifestyle. And then what you're doing is you're consuming more than you're producing. And then this is where the aging and the death and all that stuff come into play. Now I'm more relaxed. I can lay in bed and not worry about, I haven't seen Greece, so I need to go and plan a trip to Greece before I die. No, I don't have this urgency to go and have all these experiences to make me a full person. Now, I did when I was in my 20s. And this is what caused me to be such a go-getter, is because I needed to keep up with not only the Joneses, but I also knew that in my head that I was going to die at some point, and I had to get all these experiences in before I died and reach all these different milestones like everybody else. And then finally, when I did the J-Juice, those things slow down. The needing to produce and all this energy, which I'm doing with J juice, yes, but I'm also getting that energy back from the J juice, and I'm not like buying more stuff. And that's the thing. I mean, will J juice elicit a lot more money down the road? I don't have any anticipation it will. I think the next book will do very well. Do I see us getting super rich off? Well, I mean, who knows? It just depends on where people are at. Not everybody's ready for this information. Okay, so there's no way to predict how that's. But even then, you know, it's like it's just. I really don't have any expectation. I don't have any kind of emotional attachment to objects or anything that as a I don't know. It's hard to really explain exactly. Doing this J juice really changes your outlook. Okay, it changes your mentality. It changes the way you see things, the way you see objects, the way you see your friends and family, the way you see the world. And sometimes you can't even put it to words because we're so used to speaking a certain language in a certain way that to even go anything opposite of that, I don't know if there's a language yet. And I've been inventing strings of words to have you understand the J juice world. Okay, I'm not really. I mean, I have. Have I really invented any new words around the J juice? I don't recall. I might. I probably have created like, okay, yeah, autophagic. That's not a word, but autophagic waterfalls. That is explaining what the waterfalls are doing. It's autophagy. But autophagic, that is understanding the rules of language and applying it, even though it hasn't really been invented or is in the dictionary as an actual word. It might be, I don't know. But I haven't seen it being used in that form, in that manner. But let me see. And also, too, for those of you that are living your alternative lifestyles, I do have a video that talks about the biological construct and the elemental construct. And so we get rid of all the different political triggers. Okay? So we're not referring people to their political platforms. We're referring to them as a human, a biological construct. Can you produce an egg? Can you produce a sperm? If you can produce an egg and a sperm, or if you can do both, you can create a baby. You're human. Everything else is noise and division. Okay, I don't think anybody is born without the ability to produce an egg or a sperm. If you wanted to change the way in which your body produces an egg and a sperm, now if you produce an egg, could you change your body to produce a sperm? Yeah, you could. Because you have the means to. Okay, so I've gotten rid of all the different political stuff, which is all the words that create all of this division, and which is basically creating a consumptive lifestyle, the energy stealing lifestyle. All right. Currency system, regardless of what you call it, not only takes your energy, but it never gives it back. When you rely on someone else's energy to satisfy your energy, there is always an expectation of return, and even returning more. So when you're borrowing money from a bank to finance your house or your car, not only are you having to return that energy that you've taken and borrowed, but now you're paying interest on it. So it means that you're actually taking more of your energy to then give to a bank or a person. And then they're stealing that energy from you because it's not a direct equal transaction. You're actually paying more. This is why people who are poor, who have to finance, pay a lot more than those that are rich that can pay all at once. But then you look at the lifespan of a person who is borrowing, well, that's already their mentality is to consume a lot more than they're producing. And so that's their thought process. That's the way it goes. So it's already aligning with their thought process about dying. But someone like me, like, yeah, I'm in the same transaction. but I'll still be living longer than the person. And so, you know, eventually, even though I may pay more for what it is, I'm still going to be outliving, and then I own it. But I don't even worry about it, so I don't care. So it's like I really don't have any feelings about financing the house or the cars, because it's just another thing that I do. And I always can regenerate the energy to then give back to whatever agreements that I have. And that, you know, that will, and sometimes that may change, you know, with student loans. Maybe I'm hoping that Warren or somebody else would then just satisfy all the student loans out there. I don't know. Because that's another thing that I got to deal with, student loans. Woo, those are fun. But whatever, it's just another energy that I have to go and deal with. But I can produce as much as I, you know, have consumed. Okay. How much more of a return on your investment is how you view energy? How much more of a return on your investment is how much more of a return on your investment is how you view energy? If you bought something you never used, that is a waste of energy. And even if you use it, you're still, yeah, you're getting something from it, but you're still energy you never can get back. So yeah, okay, so you bought something. When you buy something, that's energy you never can get back. Because that energy, that currency is something that you produced yourself, and now you're going to buy something that is still going to take energy for you to use it. So, but if you bought something, so either way, buying anything, unless it's to help you produce not even more energy, but then keep you alive. Because yeah, if you buy something like a tractor, that's still expending energy. You bought a tractor, yeah, you're getting money from it. You better have that. You better hope that money that you're getting from buying that tractor, because you're utilizing it for a job, because you're expending energy on that job. But then you better utilize that money to then be able to regenerate your body. Well, people say, oh, I buy food, it regenerates my body, but it's the type of food, and then on what body? If you have a really, you know, if your body is degrading, then that food's going to do nothing for you, because you haven't found the right formula to keep regenerating your body to be able to create more energy to really actually get some value out of that tractor. See, when you buy a tractor to go and do jobs to then feed you, it's a temporary type of, and I know I'm getting very, very technical, but I'm looking at and analyzing every single transaction, regardless of what it is, whether it's an interaction with a person or a transaction of an object, it still represents energy that you've created. Or not created, but manifested, or someone took from you. So if you bought something that you use all the time, did that usage provide you with more energy to gain, or did it take more energy from you? If you finance an item, you have taken energy you never earned, and you are expected to not only return the energy borrowed, but also expend more energy, which is called interest, and you never get that energy back. A house and a car do not provide you energy. They can create more energy. You never give back. If you use the items you bought, you could potentially create a life that will cause you manifest energy you can always get back without interest. That really didn't make too much sense in the end. But really, you got to look at, when you do buy items, is it going to expend more energy for then is take away from you, or is it actually adding to you? And it's all a chain reaction, because when you do buy something, it's still going to produce more energy from you, or it's going to take more energy from you and keep taking. So when you buy something, you got to realize that it may make you some money, but how you use that money is the difference. You can use that money for good, which is for you and buying cabbage, water, and salt, and then time to ferment in jars, or you're going to buy other stuff that really doesn't give you any return on your investment. See, that's what it comes down to. And then, you know, and then let's say we get into that lifestyle where we're not consuming so much like a locust. Consuming and shitting, consuming and shitting, consuming and shitting. that we now are able to spread the knowledge to other people. That is energy that not only that you are helping provide more life around you, not only just to your family and your friends, but to other people that may be outside of your circle. And that will come in time. See, I'm hoping people take the juice, long enough to where they're able to withstand the pressure that's out there and maybe change their personality to where they're able to be out there and talk about this publicly without feeling like they're going to get targeted. But you have to know how to deal with the system and stuff. So not everybody's ready for that. I understand that. But yeah, so when you introduce something like Jade Juice to people with no expectation that you get anything in return, you are now producing and contributing more than you're consuming. Because there are people that were on my Facebook, there's one lady that was on my Facebook that she didn't want to buy the book, and I completely understood that. And she told me so, but I can't afford it, but I'm very happy to be your friend. And so then I wrote something about vegans and vegetarians and meat eaters are really no different because they're still exploiting their environment. They're both exploiting their environment. They're taking something from the earth or from their environment to feed their body for personal gain. And then they're really doing nothing to contribute to giving back more than they're taking. And so the same lady that was saying, thank you so much, I can't afford your book, took offense to that. And then I looked at her timeline, and she's all about the conspiracy stuff, the holistic stuff, all this stuff. And she's not ready to understand the thought process that I'm not some vegan, vegetarian, diehard, holistic professional here. Oh no, I don't propagate medical medium or all the fear-mongering articles that are out there. I talk about the power of Jade Juice. It's about understanding the elements, balancing the elements, understanding the right formula to counter all the different bacteria and viruses and disease, took away all the arguments behind the anti-vax, pro-vax, behind all the arguments between straight and LGBT. There really is no difference between the two. That's when I finally figured it out, that it's all about a biological and an elemental construct. We have sperm and we have egg to keep the species moving forward if you're on a death trajectory. Everything else is just nonsense. The holistic and the medical system are completely the same. So if you're still promoting charcoal and all the different holistic stuff, the supplements and all that stuff, and then you really have not really understood Jade Juice. Okay. Now you can use some of these items like the cannabis, which is still displacing thousands and thousands of environments, or displacing animals and destroying environments. But eventually the whole point is to get off the cannabis, the devil's weed. Okay. The whole point is to get off your pills, powder, supplements. The whole point is to not utilize spices and extracts to deal with your symptoms. The whole point is not to fear the vaccines and the white lines in the sky and the 5G and everything else. The whole point is not to worry about that it's just parasites in your body. No, I mean, viruses are parasites. So when you guys say like, oh yeah, Jade Juice only deals with parasites. No, Jade Juice deals with viruses, which are a form of parasites, as well as worms that are parasites too, and excess fungus and the imbalances. And you're finally feeding your body the right programming so it can finally now level out the programming from all the viruses you've been exposed to. Because every single cancer, disease, and chronic illness is basically predicated on a virus that your body was exposed to but didn't know how to process that information. And that's why you have anomalies, imbalances, cancer, disease, chronic illness, obesity, being too underweight, anger, rage and regret, fear, bullying. Okay, go look at the debunking groups. They're all full of viruses that are out of control. Like seriously, go to the debunking groups and then click on the images. Some of them look really beautiful because they've hidden their viruses and the manifestation of the viruses very well. They're still early on in their programming, so it hasn't really taken hold. But then you look at their parents, and their parents are aging. But then other people in the debunking groups won't even show their picture because they know they have major cancer, disease, and chronic illness that they're dealing with. They're not going to be putting it all out there. And then you have some that really just, they look the part. They have cancer, disease, chronic illness, obesity, aging, all of that. And you're like, I understand where they're coming from. They're imbalanced. There is no reason to really worry about the debunking groups because they're dealing with the death throes. They're the supernovas. They're going to wail on everybody before they leave this earth. And some of them will be around for a couple years. So we got to deal with these supernovas for a couple years. And then some are black holes out there. They don't really care. They're just kind of in their little bubble, consuming until they pass away. Some of you on Facebook are like that. You're like a black hole. You love your children. Yes, you love your partners and your husbands and your wives. That's great. But you're like a black hole. You just consume, giving nothing really back more than you're taking. And then you pass it along to your children who do the same thing. And then eventually, you know, the kids reproduce, but there's still major mutations because no one's fixed them. And then that line is gone. Then that is then going to translate into the Georgia Guidestones from 6 billion, 7 billion to 500 million. But it's going to take a lot of years. But then you see all the, like the Ebola virus. You look on ProMed and you're seeing now mainstream media is picking this up. Ebola has now spread to the outer regions outside of the Congo because people are getting vaccinated, which they need to, but people are mobile. And you have very weak bodies out there outside the Congo. And then also here in America, all of you that are on my Facebook watching me right now, you have very weak bodies. You're a sitting duck. Eventually, the CDC in your area is going to say, okay, everybody get a vaccine for the Ebola virus. Some of you will have a major reaction to it because you're already immunocompromised. And it's going to cause more mutations. Others of you won't take the vaccine and you have a weak body. And so you're a sitting duck for somebody that's either shedding from the vaccine, because it does happen, or some person that was in the region of where somebody was communicable as far as the Ebola virus. And then you're going to pick it up in some way. Okay, so no matter what, at some point, yes, I'm sure someone predicted a major pandemic on weak bodies because people don't understand the value of strategic nutrition. And so this is where, thank God, the last 3 years, we have been getting so much feedback from all of you that are on the J-Juice, understanding the difference of what cancer is, what imbalances are, what actual energy is. The applications being used on your cancer, disease, and chronic illness actually contributes to the degradation of your body. And the cannabis industry is no different than the chemotherapy industry, just in a different form, different marketing, different politics. It's still the same thing. Look at the guy that, I forget his name now. The major, well, not only Cheech and Chong, or Cheech Marin, or Tommy Chong, but that guy that is doing the whole CBD oil. He's aging. He has major viruses in his body. You think the cannabis is helping him? Oh, no, it's not. It's actually contributing more to the degradation of his body. But hey, he's symptom free, and that's really what we're looking for right now. People who are looking for pills, supplements, and drugs, and detoxes. They're looking to basically anesthetize themselves until they pass away. Those that propagate turmeric and all these different deficiencies, the copper deficiency and magnesium and the vitamin D deficiency. And they're part of the conspiracy community trying to bring in all these Egyptian stuff and then saying, oh, how this copper thing is like been hidden from the public. It's been a secret ever since, I don't know when. It's in the Vatican, and it got released from the Vatican, and now they're trying to suppress it. The C60s, and said, oh yeah, this is like the formula to life. Okay, those people are stuck in the marketing. It's another consumptive lifestyle because you're promoting something that is basically stealing people's energy. So if you're in the MLMs, you're stealing people's energy. You want to produce energy without stealing somebody else's. So that's why promoting JJ is giving back more than you're receiving. So those of you who are afraid to promote JJ, you'd rather consume and take versus promote and give away something that's going to help somebody else, and you don't get anything in return, except maybe, yeah, you're going to get some flack if you're that vocal. But then you will learn how to shut that down. But yeah, I went through a lot of crap getting this out there. But I mean, I don't answer my phone. See, I have a phone here. I don't answer my phone to restricted numbers or to scam calls. I have major security measures on my emails and Facebooks and everything else. And my local government knows exactly who I am. I've already talked to the FBI, already talked to the OAG, I've already talked to the FTC, I've already talked to, well, I haven't talked to the CIA yet, but hey, I'm sure they're watching me too. I haven't talked to Interpol, but hey, I don't mind. I've talked to them. So all my government knows me. But I think those of you who are still the lay person and you have your account locked down, you can promote JJuice. It's not going to be, if you can promote medical medium on your Facebook and promote the fear mongering about the flesh-eating bacteria in your area, you can promote JJuice, which you have, or some of you have, which is great. And others of you don't really give a shit because you're still in that consumptive lifestyle. I understand. Some of you are not ready for this information. But others of you are. And it's amazing to watch. It really is. And so it's going to be interesting. I mean, I'm telling you, those of you who are in JJuice, you're going to be watching your friends and family drop like flies, and it's going to suck. But you taking JJuice, it's going to keep strengthening your ability to handle dealing with the death all around you and watching the supernovas and the black holes all around you. I see supernovas on my Facebook and I see black holes on my Facebook. I try to reach them, doesn't always work. But that's kind of how I've categorized people on my Facebook that aren't doing JJuice. They're either a supernova or they're a black hole. A star doesn't always become a supernova to become a black hole. Sometimes a star just becomes a black hole. And sometimes a star becomes a supernova and then a black hole. But either way, the end result is a black hole. Consume, 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 and then basically die. It goes back, yes, to matter in the earth. And then we're reaping the benefits because everything that you leave behind is going to then be inherited by your offspring or back to the government, who's then going to go and reprocess and redistribute all of your energy to other people. Okay. So, but would you rather be the one to live and not have to redistribute all of your energies to everybody else? Or do you want to be part of that redistribution of your energy? I mean, that's what it really comes down to. Is you can be that energy source and the energy thing, or you can be this energy source that someone else redistributes. And so that's why JJuice is controversial, because people don't understand that you do have the ability to have indefinite life under the right conditions with the right formula. Okay. So regardless, you know, the Bitcoin to the euro to the fiat dollar, you see all these people that are propagating all these different cryptocurrencies. Currency is energy. I don't care what you call it. You can call it a Bitcoin, you can call it a dollar. It's still energy. And it's either a very direct equal transaction, or somebody is taking from somebody else more than what they deserve. No matter what, anytime you deal with currency, it's about consumption, consuming. Now, what you do with that currency, is it going to elicit producing more than you're consuming? That's what it comes down to. That's the real message I'm trying to get across, is the currency that you're dealing with, are you actually producing more than you're consuming, which means are you saving money? But when you're saving money, what are you saving money for? Is it for yourself? Or are you saving money so that way you can go and spread this knowledge to other people without asking a return on your investment? Then they say that's charity, but then what are you giving to people who are still consuming and not really giving back to earth? They're just consuming. See, that's the thing with the charities. I don't understand. I mean, I understand charities. But charities in itself is not a really good thing, because you're like when you give money to a homeless person, they're not going to better their lifestyle with giving them $5. So you took something from yourself and you gave it to somebody who, yeah, they may live another day or consume enough to keep them alive, but then they already have viruses and mental illness that's going to overtake. So you just gave energy to someone that really is not doing anything with it that's really constructive. This is why you don't give money to homeless people. The thing with the charities, you give money to somebody that's really going to destroy themselves no matter what. I know it seems great in the interim and you get a tax write-off, but that's still a consumptive organization, is the IRS. But hey, that's what it is. It's the society that we live in. You know, we don't pave our roads and we don't have this organizational structure. So we have to pay somebody for the energy for them organizing this and keeping law and order. Okay. So yeah, so no matter what, currency is consumptive. And then if you're going to be producing more than you are consuming, what are you using that money for? Is it going to contribute to a more consumptive economy, or you're going to start changing the economy to where it's not such a consumptive economy? And that's way down the road, but that's just seeds to drop to understand about energy and currency. And there's no difference between vegan and vegetarians and hunters. They both exploit the environment. They both exploit each other because they're feeding off each other and making each other wrong. And so, yeah, when people are still stuck in those divide and conquers, you see the angry faces. It's funny, I gained one friend and lost her that quickly. And she didn't want to buy the book either. And she told me so. So it was kind of funny how I said, you know, she's like, she sent me a private message. How it came out, she sent me a private message, which I don't love, but people do, and that's fine. They don't understand. Okay, get it. She sent me a private message like, hey, thanks for accepting my friend request. And I just started the protocol, and I can see this could be leading down like, oh, she's gonna have questions. She's gonna be giving me all of her life and whatever. I'm like, okay, I got to put a stop to this now before she takes my energy. And so I said, okay, just, if you want lifetime support, just get the book. You have the protocol. It gives you everything you need in there. And then we'll give you lifetime support in this Facebook private group. She's like, oh yeah, I don't have any money for it. I don't have any, I don't have any money. I mean, you deserve everything. You deserve someone to buy your book, but I don't have any money for it. So in my world, you don't deserve it. I'll just keep taking, right? Which is okay, fine. Hey, it's whatever. I get it. I can regenerate. I don't need her help to regenerate. But then I posted about the vegan, vegetarian, the meat eaters and how they exploit the environment, and they both take up and displace animals and all this other stuff. And ooh, she was incensed. She angry faced, and I actually acknowledged the angry face and responded back. And I'm like, if it's a mistake, hey, whatever. But if it's not a mistake, I still stand by what I say. And she retorted back. I knew in my head, I knew why she was angry facing. And she just retorted back, like, bah, 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 bah. Not everybody says this. And it was just like, oh, okay. Said by the same person who doesn't have the money to buy the book, but really she's willing to expend energy to make me wrong for not subscribing to the Divide and Conquer. And I'm like, okay, you're not ready for this. Go do the protocol on your own and join your own group somewhere else and do it. Not in my world. And then someone else did an angry face too. And I said the same thing. You're not ready for something about Divide and Conquer. And then he put a love face. And then he responded and said, okay, And so he fixed that situation. It didn't have to be like, I blocked her because I don't want to deal with somebody just responding to all my shit because she's still stuck in Divide and Conquer. This other guy, he was like, hey, yeah, I get it, blah, 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 And he completely turned that whole situation around. So it went from an angry face to me going like, bam. And I still loved my comment, but he loved it. So it's another, so he neutralized that anger. And then he really gave his position of that is he's seeing that there is something to this. And then everything is great. He's still on my Facebook. I never told him buy the book. Will he buy the book? I don't know. I have no expectation. But if you're going to angry face and put that kind of energy out there, I'm going to neutralize it with my own proton torpedoes. And then if you still continue down that yucky path, then bam, gone. But whatever, it is what it is. But that's kind of, it's interesting But anyways, so yeah, so I know I give a lot more than I get in return. I know it. Okay? And so that's why I'm comfortable talking about this, because that's the world that we want to live in. And that will then stop the displacement of animals and the fear and the violence. Proton torpedo. Yeah, great. You know, so I mean that's my dream for the future for all of us that are on JJuice. The ones that are not on JJuice, they will mutate themselves out of existence. It may not happen for a while because they're going to have offspring. Because remember, when someone's in their death throes, the natural thing for most humans and animals is to reproduce. However, humans are really, really very interesting. They can fix the programming and potentially have indefinite life and reverse all their issues. Or the more programming they get from all the different viruses, new ones that are coming into their community, it's going to make them glitch more. Yes, they'll reproduce. Then they have a child that has the same issues, if not more. And then that child will not be able to reproduce. Or if they do reproduce, the lifespan of every offspring is going to get shorter and shorter and shorter to where there is no more of that lineage. It's done with. And some families are done with. Some families will not be reproducing anything more. Others are. So it's interesting. So watch some of the families out there that you know. Just watch them. You'll see patterns emerge. You will. All right, you guys have an amazing day. I'm going to go do what I do, whatever that is. And you guys do what you do. Enjoy the opportunity of getting to know this information. And those that are not angry facing me, but hate my information, you're still leaving yourself open for this info. You're still receiving it. You may be watching me, hating me all the while, but that's okay. Maybe it will penetrate one day. You're not being influenced by all the other people out there. So you guys just keep exploring. All right. Be inquisitive. Always ask questions. All right. Bye.